how's it going? I'm back at the car today. Going to do a couple projects, hopefully, or at least in this video, try to do a couple projects. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Okay, first project, and I know that if you've watched this channel and see some of my videos, you know that I've been working on the dashboard, trying to get things working on that. Not only the lights behind the instrument panel, but also the gas gauge, which hasn't been working, and it's, you know, pain in the neck when you're driving around wondering how much gas you have. Temperature light wasn't, temperature gauge wasn't working either, but I went out and bought an aftermarket temperature gauge for that, and I think there was a video showing that too. But today I'm going to be putting in this iEquus, and this will be a aftermarket gas gauge, and hopefully will work with the sending unit I put in. It's supposed to. So check back, and we're going to be taking care of that. What do we got here? Does this look easy? I think I can figure this out. What do we got here? Instructions. Okay. Those. All right, we'll be back. Okay, putting in the gauge. So here is the gas gauge. First connection here is to the purple wire, which is supposed to be the wire that comes from the tank sending unit, and I have that connected in line, goes in here. The other two connections are, I believe, the positive connection for the battery terminal, and there's a ground strap here, which I'll probably do the same thing that I did with the oil pressure gauge and just ground it to the steering column. And then these other two leads are for lights for the illumination. So that's basically what I'm doing now, just tying everything together. Yeah, pretty easy to do. Instructions. Hey, okay, so I got everything hooked up, and notice the weird do this all with one hand. All right, you see where the gauge is now? That'd be easier if I mounted this, but maybe you can see it this way. I can't see it because the freaking sun is like glaring and everything. Okay, there we go. All right, ready? So it's actually reading below empty. I don't know if that means I don't have any gas or the sender isn't working, but I'm going to go fill it up completely, and we will see what happens. Report back. Well, I'm here at the gas station. I'm going to fill up, see if this meter changes. I don't think it's going to. I think there's something up with the resistance of the sending unit. It's supposed to be within a specific range, and obviously it's not. But I also dropped the fuel gauge on the ground before I brought it over to work on the car, so maybe that has something to do with it. But we need gas anyway, so I'm going to try this out, see what happens. Finally moving. Well, I put 10 gallons into the car, and the gauge has not moved an inch. Still doing the same thing. So I'm really disappointed. I was hoping I'd get that fixed up. I don't know if the sending unit, I could not really find any good statistics on the sending unit, but I equated it to a part number that was similar in the Rock Auto website, and assumed that it was the one that was supposed to be on this car for a Chrysler product, which was reading 10 when empty, and resistance, or the ohms, and reading 79 or 80 for when it's full. Obviously, either there's something wrong with this meter or there's something wrong with the sending unit. So, as usual, you know, it went in kind of easy, but obviously it does not work, and very disappointed. It actually goes up when you turn the car off, which is kind of counterintuitive to way it should be. Alright, I'm going to go adjust the kickdown linkage because that isn't working anymore. I messed around with it a little bit, so let's see if we can get that working. Maybe something will work today. Very disappointing. Anyway, I forgot to mention too that I took the grill out and the headlight bezels to try to work on those a little bit. And I also did start doing some body work on the hood here. Obviously I did, well, not super obvious, but I think this car was in an accident one time. This looks like a repainted hood. If you can see, it looks like a darker blue color. And they did a shitty job. So I think the hood and this fender have been replaced at one time. But that's neither here nor there. Let's see if I can adjust the kickdown. I'm going to turn the car off. It'll be easier to hear. Alright, so the kickdown linkage is right here. And I'm going to pop this off. And let me see. There was a sort of a paint mark where the setting was before. And you can see it right there. So I'm going to kind of put that back to where the paint setting was. And let's see if we get the kickdown to work. If you don't know what a kickdown is, I think you probably all know. Maybe you don't. But when the car is an automatic car, it goes through its series of gears pretty quickly for fuel economy reasons. And you'll kind of hear this when I take off. There's first gear, second gear, and I think I'm actually already in third gear right now. So what you really want to do is when you want to go to pass somebody or just get some acceleration, you want to, when you tread on the pedal, floor to pedal, it's supposed to knock down into second gear, and that gives you that extra gear boost. I'm on 80. So let's see if we can hear it this time. Yeah, it's an old car. Second. It's already in third. And once I get around this corner here, I'm going to try to floor it. Let's see if it actually goes into the higher gear. Okay, it did. It worked. You hear it? And there it goes into third. Alright, so that's cool. So I got the, whoa, a lot of dust kicking up. I got the kickdown to work again, which is good. But it's a slight adjustment. I only adjusted it maybe 2 or 3 threads because it felt like I really had to trounce on the pedal to get it to kick down. But either way, I adjusted it. Just a few threads didn't really make that much difference as far as adjusting the pedal. I guess I could probably work on it a little more. I didn't really spend a lot of time on it, but that's what it is now. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. At least that's working. The gas gauge is an annoyance. It's really nice to get in the car and be very comfortable knowing how much gas you have in the tank. But what I've been doing now is I've been driving it for a while, and then I go and just fill it all the way up and try to keep a book of what the mileage is. It's actually been getting really crappy mileage. I don't know if that was a combination of the choke. The carburetor is old. I rebuilt it myself. I'm not an expert in rebuilding carburetors. I may actually rip that apart again and take a look and see if there's something I missed in the carburetor. But the last time I checked, it was only getting like 13 miles a gallon. which isn't horrible, but for a Slant 6, and you're supposed to be getting somewhere in the 18 to 20 range probably, and I'm not really getting that. Although I am sort of there's a lot of dust in the car here. I am sort of a heavy foot with it, only because it's kind of fun to floor it, even though it's only got about 145 horsepower. It moves along pretty good for a little car. All right, we'll get a chance, I think, here to test out the kickdown again. So let's give that a shot. It's kind of fun driving around in the car, don't you think? It's actually running really well right now. I think the electric choke I put on it really is doing something as far as the idle goes. I used to really have to have the idle really high, and I think that it was stuck on choke, or at least half choke, and now that seems to be remedied. I know the timing probably is not perfect either. It's possible that the timing chain is stretched out a little bit. That'll be a project somewhere down the road, but I mean, I used to really have to hold on the brake to keep the car from creeping forward, and I could probably lower the idle even a little bit more than it is right now. I don't have a tachometer in the car, so I'm not really sure how many RPMs it's running, but all right, here we go. There's second, and there's third. So if you actually drove this car the way I'm driving it right now, and just letting it go through the series of gears without trouncing it, you probably would get better gas mileage. It's probably my driving habits more than anything else, because I only drive it occasionally, and I like to have fun with it when I drive it. So let's try the kickdown again. There it goes, kicks down. You'll hear it pop in the third. There's a cop, so I gotta slow down. That's a fake cop. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, there's kickdown. And there we go, right into third. I released the accelerator pedal a little bit, it'll kick back into third. But that gives you an example of what a kickdown linkage does. Actually, just with your pedal, you can shift the transmission automatically into a different gear. Sorry about that. I trounced you on the floor. Did that hurt? Hey, how you doing? So, guess what? So right after I made the video, right before this, I guess, depending on how I edit, I was taking the car to my house. I keep the car in a garage and different from where I live. So when I want to work on it, I either have to be at that garage, or I bring the car to my house and work on it there, where I don't have a garage, so I kind of have to park it in the street and work on it. But anyway, I was going to do that and do some little things with the car, which I did wind up doing. I wound up putting the grill back on and the headlight bezels. But right before I got to the house, the car started sputtering like really bad, and actually the car did do this once before, and I thought maybe that it was starting to get low gas in the tank, and the gas had been in the tank over the winter, of course, and I did run the car over the winter a number of times, but I thought maybe they got some water in the fuel line or whatever. But anyway, I got full tank of gas, and like I said, the car was starting to sputter really bad and backfiring. So I wound up actually able to limp to my house and got a spot right out in front. And after a number of hours trying to troubleshoot what was actually going on with the car, I had taken the carburetor apart and was checking the fuel pump, because I thought that it might have been fuel related. But what I wound up finding out, and much to my chagrin, was that the points were completely burnt out in the car. I'll show you a picture of those in a little bit, but the one side of the points was completely gone.
and the points are spring loaded, and the spring was completely screwed up where they weren't opening and closing smoothly. So of course the car was going to run really crappy. In fact, I'm surprised it actually stayed lit enough for me to drive it. But what I found out after I replaced the points, which I had a spare set of, is that the car still wouldn't start. So what I didn't do after that is go online and some of the forums that I belong to and got some hints of what it might be, and we actually tracked it down to it being the condenser, which is a little mechanism that's in the distributor that is supposed to limit the amount of spark that you get sent to the points. It sort of limits the voltage, I guess. I'll get a better explanation of that for you, because I really don't know the exact terminology for it. But basically it's like a choke, electronic choke, that kind of limits the amount of spark that goes to the points. If you don't have that, it can burn out your points, which is what happened. And then it just turned into a cluster heck of stuff. And you can kind of hear right now the car sort of has a little bit of a hesitation already. I'm sort of trying to drive it back to the garage where I'm at, and where I'm keeping the car. But what wound up happening is that Slant Six is really difficult to work on the distributor. I don't know how people set the points with the distributor in the car still, but I wound up taking the distributor out, and that kind of screws up the timing too, because you have to put the distributor back in the right spot, which normally is not a problem. But I had done and put the distributor in 180 degrees out of whack. And that took me a while to figure out. I had to take the spark plug out of #1 cylinder, find top dead center. I got that rectified. As soon as I did, the car lit off like gangbuster, just like first try. So now I'm taking it back, like I said, and the car is actually, seems like it's running well enough now, but the timing is still a little bit off because I'm still getting a little bit of a hesitation, and the car is running a little rich. But I wanted to catch you up on what's going on with the car. These are the things that kind of drive you crazy, because you want it to be reliable. And I know it's an old car, but you want to feel confident that you take it someplace that you're going to get home. But what I've also found out is that new parts that you get for these cars are pretty crappy. They're usually made in other countries where maybe the specifications aren't really up to par with how things were done in the old days, and of course nobody's going to make these parts because they're, there's not too many cars around that still use them. But I think that I probably got a bad condenser and a bad set of points, and that's what caused this issue. But here you can kind of get an idea here. I'm going to floor it. You hear that hesitation? So I know the timing is off a little bit. Either that, or when I took the carburetor apart, I didn't do a good job of putting it back together. So still more work to do on this, but at least the car is actually running, which is a good thing. And I mean, I get a hesitation, but after the hesitation, the car still actually does run. So I'm going to go to the garage right now and maybe see if I can set the points. Set the distributor timing a little bit better. So we'll catch up after that. Sorry for the long diatribe, but again, I want you to be aware of what it takes to own one of these cars, especially if you don't have the money to have a professional work on it. And I have moderate skills, so that's kind of why I work on it, because I'm comfortable doing certain things. But anyway, I'm going to go try to set the timing on those, see if we can get it to run a little bit better. See ya. Okay, there's the grill back on. I actually used a spare grill that I had because it was in a little better shape than the grill that was on here before. So that's what that looks like. And then I just didn't set the timing. I don't know if you can see this or not. The timing is supposed to be
Take it for a little test ride here. Oop, let's try reverse. Yeah, it's already bogging again. You can hear it. I'm just going to park it because it's already bogging. Hear it? So the timing seems a little wacky. Oh well. Time to park the old beast and work on getting that going another day. I could have screwed up the carburetor, so maybe it's not in the pump ain't working, accelerator pump, whatever they call that. But I feel vindicated. At least I got the car back into the garage instead of being out on the street. Bye-bye. Alright, so I wanted to show you these points that I was talking about in the last video. Maybe a little hard to see, but this upper contact is very pitted and scarred, and the contact actually on the bottom one, which is supposed to be right here, is actually missing. Burned up. I don't know what it is. It's kind of hard to see, but it's supposed to be right there, right there. And in addition to that, these points ride on a cam in the distributor, and they're supposed to flip back and forth, like spring loaded. You can see that these don't even move. So looks like I got a set of bad parts, although they worked for a while. But like I said, the condenser probably went and burned out the points, and I don't know what else happened to bind this up so much, but obviously that's not going to work in a car. It's a rainy day, but I got the car running much better. I set the timing top dead center. Can you see me over this wheel? Which is supposed to be like the factory setting, I think. It's so many different stories, but anyway, the car would not run. It was backfiring through the carburetor. It was hesitating, as I showed you before. And I know watching the hesitation is really difficult, but I think I can prove to you that the car is actually running a little better. So let's go for a little test ride here. So what I wound up doing is resetting the timing, and it is way advanced before top center. I'd say probably, I don't know, 20 degrees, maybe 25 degrees. All right, so here we go. Hold on to the camera. Okay, so I could not do a burnout before. I know it's wet, and that helps out a whole lot. But yeah, it's running much better. And back under the car. Gotta love it. All right, here's another thing I'm going to check. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that. Anyway, going to take off this top heater hose. I'm going to check something that I did here a while ago. Well, the car is somewhat cold. All right, so you can see there's a stocking in here. Yeah, no, I actually put this in here to catch some particles, rust particles, so they wouldn't get into the radiator. And as you can see, there is still some rust coming off from inside the block from it sitting so long. See those granules? And if I didn't take those out, they would just be circulating in the radiator. So I'm glad someone online told me about this. So I'm going to go wash my stocking, and I'll put this back in there. So basically what you do is you kind of make just a sock, and it catches all those particles before they get into the radiator. And every so often you empty this out. The first time I did this, it had a huge chunk. So if I didn't do this, it would have screwed up this $500 radiator. So I'm glad I did that. I'm going to wash this off, put it back together, and keep driving forward. So this is going to be a little bit of a reenactment video because I lost some footage that I'd shot about the gas gauge. I do have some good news about the gas gauge, but let me go over a few things as quickly as I can, and we'll take care of some loose ends here. All right, so real quickly, I used an ohm meter, which I don't know where it is now, but I've realized that I was getting a correct resistance from the sending unit. What I also noticed when I was down there, that the wire, and this is actually the wire that goes to the sending unit, is blue. See it right there? Now, I've been led to believe by some online things that the sending unit wire near the dash and near the kick panel is purple. So this is one clue for my problem. The next clue here is, and I hate to give you guys math, but what I was reading on the sending unit was 27.3 ohms, and the stock Chrysler sending unit used in this model car and a lot of the Chrysler cars from the 60s and 70s is that the proper ohmage for an empty tank is 73 ohms and the full tank is 10 ohms. All right, so I knew I was getting 27, so that is somewhere in the not in the middle, but somewhere in like the 3/4 range of the scale. So that gave me good hope because I knew that the sending unit was reading something proper. The second thing that I did, and I hope you can see this, and I'm going to be spoiler, I had a whole long video about this, but the gas gauge is over here and it's mounted. And what I noticed, and I know this is a little hard to see, so let me see if I can drag a light in here. Now you can see here. Here's the purple wire, which I tapped into before. But then what I noticed here is that here is that same color wire coming up from the back, and as you can see it's the same color blue as the one coming up from the trunk that connects to the gas tank. So what I did then is I tapped into here. I also cut this line up here where it goes into the dash. So if anybody ever buys this car after I pass away and you want to use the stock gas gauge, where is it? Over there. You're going to have to reconnect this wire. And I think there's other components that are missing from the stock gas gauge. There's a little electronic device in there, a regulator, that I think is bad. And you know that I've had problems with this instrument panel anyway, with the lights coming on. But I've also narrowed that down. There is a short somewhere because the instrument panel fuse keeps blowing. So I know I have a wire that's messed up, which is kind of good news. At least I know what I'm looking for now. All right, so let's end this video and let's go here. We will connect the battery. I always disconnect the battery when I'm not here, just in case there's something that is live that can drain down the battery. So before I told you that it's probably 3/4 full, but I'm gonna lie because I went out and put some gas in the car, and I am going to turn the ignition on. There we go, a working gas gauge with lights. Pretty good, huh? So it's reading pretty accurate. So hopefully this will be somewhat accurate, but at least it'll give me a little peace of mind. I'll know that, you know, when I have gas in the car, when I don't have gas in the car. Save me some money too, because I'm tired of topping off the tank every time I go for a trip. So there you go. Gas gauge is working. Thanks.